Aye, lads. Branch of Mtg. Untapped land, colourless mana, disguise 3. Well, now I know why they added, what's that draft set called? That has the morph cards that they added like 2 weeks ago. Just to get everyone back in the mood, you know? Cans, yes. So this is an untapped, colourless land or a 3 mana 2/2. I mean, that seems bad, but hey, lands that do things are normally good, huh? When was the last time that they printed a land that does a thing that nobody played? Mirex gets used, Otawara, etc. gets used, basically every creature land gets used. Cavernous Maw? Cavernous Maw is a creature land, man. It's a creature land for one deck. If that one deck was good, Cavernous Maw would be in it. So that's not really a counterpoint. This is probably better than absolutely useless, but it doesn't seem that good. Lands are the best card in the game, so who knows. Mishra's Foundry saw 0 play in any deck. Wow, nice counterpoint. It's really easy to argue against a point if you just resort to sheer lies. What's the deal with these rare lands, man? They seem pretty bad. Standard is just too fast to play lands like this, man. Too fast. Yeah, you don't really need tap lands, huh? We've got triomes for tap lands, we've got fetch lands, we got all sorts of good lands, so these are just awful. This set gonna be standard? Yeah, I mean, they're very slightly better than tempos, and tempos are just dog shit, aren't they? Basic Forest and Basic Island, I think, will see play. The Lush Portico. Public Thoroughfare. ETB tapped. When it ETBs, sack it unless you tap an untapped artifact, add 1 mana. Seems bad. Enter the battlefield tapped. Artifact land clue. Clue land. Enters the battlefield tapped. Colourless mana, or tap a creature for a colour, or 2 sack. Okay, seems bad. Okay, so what do we think about this one? Stage 1, I think, is pretty strong. Stage 2 seems pretty bad, though. 1 mana saga equals good? Normally, yeah. Okay. A Gorgon smooched me just like Jace. Enchantment case. When a Gorgon smooched me just like Jace enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 target creature that was dealt damage this turn. To solve, 3 or more creature cards were put into your graveyard from anywhere this turn. If unsolved, solve at the beginning of your end step. Solved becomes a 4/4 creature with Death Touch and Lifelink. Right, so this thing is absolutely nuts. What? 1 mana 4/4 Death Touch Lifelink or Chupa. I guess it's not quite a Chupa, but yeah. Mill 3, but you have to mill more than 3, right? You've got lands and non-creatures too. Because like say you've got 20 creatures in your deck, you need to mill 9. You need to mill 9 just to flip it half the time. But still, just to play more than 20 creatures, right? I mean, how hard can it be to mill 3 creatures? I guess pretty hard, because the best mill cards in Standard are Teachings and Jace, and they're both not creatures, so that doesn't exactly help. But, I mean, if you can mill 3 creatures, this is obviously nasty, huh? Does it work with 1 cat and 3 ovens? Don't know. 3 or more creature cards. Have you put 3 or more creature cards into your graveyard if you loop cat 3 times? Or have you put 1 creature card into your graveyard? What the fuck is this? I mean, this card's kind of nasty, isn't it? It doesn't really seem like a standard card, but this seems like a banger in Timeless, Explorer, Historic. Listen, Timeless is a powerful format, but it's not powerful enough that you're going to turn down 1 mana 4/4 Death Touch Lifelinkers that kill creatures. It's perfectly good enough to me. Seems absolutely insane. Analyze the Pollen. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may collect Evidence 8. Exile cards with total mana value 8 or greater from your graveyard. Search your library for a basic land card. If Evidence was collected, search your library for a creature or land, reveal it, put it into your unshuffle. So this is like Traverse, yeah. But instead of Delirium, you need 8 mana value in your graveyard. I mean, that's 8 is a lot, mate. 8 is a lot. But Traverse is, well, it's an unbelievable card, isn't it? This plus Treasure Cruise. Okay. I can see it. Seems it's way worse than Abundant Harvest though, right? Traverse is better, but that's not saying much. I mean, Traverse is an amazing card, man. Traverse is like well underplayed. This is obviously a gas. It seems like another card that's not really a standard card though, but maybe it is. We'll see. It seems good. Case of the Filched Falcon. When it enters the battlefield, investigate to solve. Control 3 or more artifacts. Solved. Sacrifice this case. Put 4 counters on a non-creature artifact. It becomes a flyer. We have to pay 3 to do this one. Yeah, that's kind of cringe. Why does the black one not have to pay, but this one does? There's usual hatred against blue from Wizards here. This one's trash because you have to pay 3. Convenient target. Yeah, maybe you can do some sort of, like, use it as some sort of enabler because you get an artifact and enchantment for 1, but still, I mean, that is, you know, that's for another day, let's say. It's not standard power level, man. Come on. Convenient target. Enchant creature. When it enters the battlefield, suspect enchanted creature. You make it have menace and can't block, and it gets +1/+1. Return from graveyard to hand. +1/+1 menace. This is probably good. I don't know if it'll be good in mono red, but this is good in an auras deck, right? Menace is useful, recurable auras are useful. Can't block, doesn't really matter. That'll definitely be used somewhere. But these cards are crazy so far. 3 out of 4 cards playable. The Felonious Rage. Target creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. When that creature dies this turn, create a 2/2 white and blue detective creature token. Okay, bad. Or maybe not bad, but worse than what we've already got. Knife. The card is just called Knife. As long as it's your turn, equip the creature gets +1/+0 and has first strike. 2 sack Knife, draw a card, equip 2. So this is like, there's kind of one of these equipments in every set, right? Normally they're basically never constructed playable, but in draft they're normally only really good when they're the ones that make the treasures, right? This one doesn't make any treasures. You can cycle it though, which I guess is pretty good. It's also uncommon, like normally they're commons, right? Which is what makes them super annoying. Not massively in love with this, but I say that. If I got this in a draft, I would pick it, but I know not everyone would. Lead Pipe. Here we go, this is the black one, which will obviously be better than the red one. As always, equipped creature gets +2/+0. Whenever equipped creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life. 2, sack it, draw a card, equip 2. Okay, it's actually worse. In an unbelievable turn of events, it's actually worse. Dude, this set is gas, huh? Actual Cluedo weapons, man. This should be, all Magic sets should be like this. The best Magic sets are not actually Magic sets. I'm looking at you, Lord of the Rings. I'm looking at you, Baldur's Gate. I'm looking at you, Eldraine, which is actually a Magic set, but it doesn't really fit in too much with the theme of Magic, so it's an outlier at least. Novice Inspector. 1 mana, 1/2 white creature the ETB investigates. Something about this card is ringing a bell. Shock. Assassin's Trophy. Assassin's Trophy, huh? Is the other Assassin's Trophy a rare too? It is, right? Yeah. I mean, kind of banger card for Sultai and green-black and etc. The thing is, Assassin's Trophy is an absolutely terrible card, but it's pretty good for a deck though. Just 'cause it saves you sideboard slots, huh? It lets you use like 2 cards to do 4 cards worth of job, so even though your 2 trophies will be worse than your 2 let's say, Haywire Mites and Sheoldred's... Haywire Mites to kill artifacts and enchantments, and Sheoldred's Edicts to kill planeswalkers. You'd rather have an Edict or a Mite in the right situation. That's not the full picture, huh? Because then you also get to add 2 Hearses, right, to your sideboard. So you get to beat another thing too. Because you got 2 spaces, baby. Auspicious Arrival. Target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn to investigate. Pretty sick. Burden of Proof. Flash. +2/+2 if it's a detective. Otherwise, it has base power and toughness 1/1 and can't block detectives. Seems bad. Case of the Pilfered Proof. Detective tribal card, huh? When it enters the battlefield, when it's turned face up, put a counter on it, 3 or more detectives, 1 or more tokens, those tokens plus blah 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 blah. Alright, trash. Maybe not trash, but, you know, boring, which is worse than trash, by the way. Do you know what I'd like them to make a separate ladder in Arena for non-tribal players. So you never have to play against, like, someone dressed up as a dinosaur. I just don't want to take part in that, man. Like, they're honestly... Playing a tribal deck is disrespectful to the game of Magic. You got so many options, a wealth of options, and you actually take the level 0 choice. It pisses me off. It pisses me off. You can play, like, Sultai midrange. You can play Wombo Combo number 79. You can play Blue-White Control. You can play Mono-Red Burn. These are all, like, sick decks. But instead, you play Angels. Like, seriously, just get out of my game, man. I don't respect you. Get out of my game. You don't deserve to play the game of Magic. Merfolk is the only interesting tribal deck. Okay, not true, but it is one of the interesting ones. Fish can stay. Goblins can stay. And elves can stay as long as you're using those elves to bring out a big, massive dinosaur and attacking for a lot of damage. You cannot play dinosaur tribal. That's against the rules. But you can play elf tribal to cast 1 large dino. Rogues? Okay, rogues and ninjas are also cool. But rogues and ninjas are not... They're not really, like, you know... They're not the same as angels, huh? Those decks only play, like, 12 to 16 creatures. Like, rogues and ninjas are like... I don't know. It's like a Gandalf deck, but instead of a couple of planeswalkers, you just have a couple of creatures. But yes, they're also fine. Okay, Case of the Stashed Skeleton. When this case enters the battlefield, create a 2/1 black skeleton creature token and suspect it. 2 mana, 2/1 menace can't block. Okay, bad start. To solve, you control no suspected skeletons. Solved, pay 2. Sacrifice this case. Search a library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Activate only as a sorcery. What? So you get a 2 mana, 2/1 menace can't block, and then you get a demonic tutor. Can't block is so bad, guys. It's so bad. This card's nice though. You need to kill the skelly somehow. No, you don't. Your opponent will kill the skelly. Don't know if you've ever played Magic before, but when you put a creature onto the board, the opponent kills it. There's a Jace puppet at the bottom. That's true. There's something about skeletons that just gets me excited, man. In-game, yeah, in-game. Of course. I think this card is playable. Especially in a fast deck, man. It's a good aggro card. I just can't see a world where you're playing like Rakdos with like Shelly top end, and you don't want this. I guess it doesn't play very well with Kamano though. I cannot imagine a standard where nobody puts any of these in their deck. Surely not. You think you're going to play this next set and nobody's going to use this? Surely not. When they're wanting an aggressive creature in a deck that also wants a tutor. But just an aggro deck, right? It's just flood prevention in an aggro deck. Deduce. Draw a card, investigate. This has to be good. There's 0% chance it's not good. The ratio of good to bad cards is very strong so far. Demand answers. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sack an artifact or discard a card, draw 2. Okay, I mean again, just a gas. Dogwalker. 3/1 Vig. 3/1 Vig or 3 mana 2/2 into 2 mana 3/1 Vig and 2 1/1s tapped. Okay, finally a bad card. Expose the culprit. Choose one or both. Turn target face down creature face up. Exile any number of face up creatures you control with disguise in a face down pile. Shuffle that pile, then cloak them. To cloak a card, put it onto the battlefield face down as a 2/2 creature with ward 2. Turn it face up anytime for its mana cost if it's a creature card. Okay, bad. Extract a confession. 2 mana sorcery. As an additional cost to cast a spell, you may collect evidence 6. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. If evidence was collected instead, each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures they control. Okay, also bad. Fanatical Strength. +3/+3 and Trample. Bad. Galvanize. 3 damage to creature. If you've drawn 2 or more cards, 5 damage to creature. Bad. Gleaming Geardrake. 2 mana 1/1 flyer. ETB Investigate. Sack an artifact. Add a counter. Any haste, mate? Any haste on my small flyers? Absolutely nutty in draft, of course, yeah. 2 mana flyer that draws a card later. Grixis Anvil? It's not really an Anvil card, man. I can see why you would want to play an Anvil, but an Anvil doesn't need creatures. Anvil needs damage. Anvil needs Meat Hook Massacre or something like that, right? No, it doesn't need another creature. Its creatures are already insane. Anvil needs a way to actually kill opponent before they farewell them. It's a big flyer, so it kind of deals damage. No creature deals damage, man. Not in 2024. There's absolutely no way you play this. I don't even think you would play this even if it was a red-black card, but you're certainly not going to add a colour. Card is probably good, but also it's just a random creature in it. Homicide Investigator. 2 mana 2/2. Whenever 1 or more non-token creatures die, investigate. This ability triggers only once each turn. Meh. Does count itself, yeah, but still. We've already got the Throbbing Inspector, huh? And the Throbbing Inspector's a 1/2 for 1. That investigates. This is a 2/2 for 2 that investigates. Like, I mean, I was going to say most of the time, not even most of the time, right? There's a lot of bindings and emperors and stuff, so... I mean, this has to investigate twice, right? To even be worth playing. It's just... It's not good enough, man. Crawl Whipcracker. Now, this is a creature. 2 mana 3/2 reach. ETB destroy a thing. In this case, a token. This is a playable creature. It does not kill Rafine. That's true, but also irrelevant. The flavor? Sir, we could try to cite him for mishandling evidence, but I'm not sure he technically has hands. That was spoken by Argyle, the agency junior detective. Why are crawls always insane, man? Harpooner, Whipcracker. Potential is there. This is a good creature, yeah. Market Watch Phantom. The difference between 3 power and 2 power is just so crazy, man. On a 2-drop. Market Watch Phantom. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, gains flying until end of turn. No more lies. Counter target spell unless its controller pays 3. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. Okay, very strong, but also cavern, by the way. I mean, this is the best counter spell in standard as soon as it's printed, but also, you know, counters are the worst card type in standard, so bit of a balancing act here that needs to be done. I mean, it's a great counter spell, of course, but counter spells are just so bad. It's better than Dovin's Veto. I don't even think Dovin's Veto is any good, man, so yes, well, I would say, clearly, but I'm also a Veto hater, which you're surely not, considering you want to make this comparison. Lies fester and flourish in shadow. Our job is to bathe them in light. Spoken by Ezreem, the agency chief. I mean, I will play this in decks until I play against a cavern, and then I will remove it from my deck. I would make a great detective, true. Pyrotechnic Performer. 2 mana 3/2 with Disguise 1. Whenever Pyrotechnic Performer or another creature you control is turned face up, that creature deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. Seems bad. Yeah, 4 mana 3/2 deal 3. In fact, you can play it on curve though, I guess, but maybe it is good. Maybe it's better than like Ryger or something if you want a 4-drop in your mono red deck. Maybe it's decent, I don't know. I mean, it could be good potentially in a mono red deck that, you know, doesn't have any 4-drops, right? So you can just play 1s, 2s, and 3s, and then you've got this and Bloodthirsty Adversary as big cards to use if you flood. The second copy of this will deal 6 when it flips. Yes. Yeah, maybe I actually think, now that I think about it more, I think this is useful. Because I guess it can be a 2, 3, or 4 mana card, huh? Which is incredibly useful. But the more I think about it, this might be the best card so far. This gives you such a insane, like, buff to your deck as a whole. And what other cards can be a 2-drop, a 3-drop, and a 4-drop? Or I guess, or a 4-drop. How many other disguise creatures do you need? 0? Well, 3. 3 more copies of this. Type in this card. I just don't see how this can't be good. You just play a 1, 2, and 3 mana mono red deck, and you've got this for 4, Adversary for 5, and you're chilling. You're absolutely chilling. Is a 4 mana 3/2 deal 3 to your opponent good? No, but that's not what the card is, so what are you talking about? It's better than Kami? Well, it's better than like Raiju, it's better than the Planeswalkers. What the hell is Kami? Oh, the Raiju. Yeah, it's better than Raiju, yeah. This card is good because it lets you cut the worst card from your mono red deck, right? Which is your 4 mana card. I don't care which one you've chosen that's the worst card in your deck. Because now you're playing, you've got 1, 2, and 3 mana cards in your mono red deck, and you're playing mono red aggro and midrange in the same deck. It's gas. I think this is the most impactful card so far. Maybe the counterspell, but I mean, that depends. I just can't see the counterspell being that useful, because if that counterspell, the counterspell just simply cannot take over standard, right? If it's good and if a lot of decks play it, then, you know, the next morning every deck has 4 Cavern Souls in it, so it'll just never stand the test of time, right? I don't know, still seems sus to me. That's because you're a silly human being. You're making up a game of Magic in your head where you've got Pyrotechnic Performer in your deck, and you're just not following the laws of averages. Because you're saying, okay, yes, I've got Pyrotechnic Performer in my hand on turn 2 or turn 4 here, and these, when I cast it on turn 2, it's not that good, and when I cast it on turn 4, it's not that good. What I would... But the mistake you're making is assuming that in the alternative game, where you have, let's say, a Feldon on turn 2 and or a Raiju on turn 4, the game just doesn't work out like that, right? Most of the time you don't have a Feldon. Most of the time you don't have a Raiju. The fact that this can be both and better than both, it can also be a 3, that's what makes it good, right? If it was the 2-drop without the 3 and 4, it wouldn't be in the deck. If it was the 3-drop without the 2 and 4, it wouldn't be in the deck. If it was the 4-drop without the 2 and 3, it would not be in the deck. But it is all 3 of those things. It's good. It makes the rest of your deck better. Therefore, why wouldn't you play it? The Sanitation Automation. 2 mana, 2/1, Surveil 1. Sumala Sentry. 2 mana, 1/3 reach. Whenever a face down permanent you control is turned face up, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and a +1/+1 counter on the Sumala Sentry. This is a 2 mana, 3/5 if you can flip one thing. I mean, that's pretty good, but it's also very hard to flip a face down permanent. V2 Gazi Inspector. 2 mana, 1/3. As an additional cost to cast a spell, you may collect Evidence 6 with Reach. If you collect Evidence, put a counter on a creature and gain 2. Scuffed. Alquist Prof, the Master Sleuth. 3 mana, 3/3 Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, investigate. X, white, blue, blue, tap, sack a clue, draw X, gain X. Seems bad. S tier? Oh yes, this thing's shit, man. You can't play this against any deck, man. Can't play it against ramp. Can't play it, it's too slow against ramp, it's too slow against mono red. I guess maybe you can play it against mono red, but also you probably can't. And everything in between has got something better, right? You got When Announcement, you got Refine, you got, I don't know, whatever else in these colours. You're never choosing this one for your deck. This guy is bad. One of in control, maybe. There's no such thing as control, man. Case of the Ransacked Lab. 3 mana. Instants and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. To solve, you've cast 4 or more instant and sorcery spells this turn. Solved. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, draw a card. This is a cheater card. Unplayable? Don't know about unplayable. They probably said Phoenix was unplayable too. Should have been 2 mana. Oh, I think it's fine. I don't know if you have enough 1 and 2 mana instants and sorceries that draw in standard though. The solving on end step kills it. I don't think so. It doesn't matter, man. You're never gonna have a turn where you cast 4 instants and sorceries, and then what you cast those 4, and you think you've still got mana left to cast more after this flips. I think it's this will be good as long as there's enough ways to draw. Because it's already hard enough in a Phoenix deck to cast 3 spells in a turn. In a deck that's just only draw spells. So you're gonna need like at least as much card draw in your deck as a Phoenix deck has. Probably more. And they all have to cost 1 or 2. But the 2 mana ones have to have 1 colorless mana cost, right? Basically, your deck has to be able to cast this on 3 and solve it on 4, right? Like a huge majority of the time. Give me 1 sec, chat. Be right back. Which, you know, is maybe not impossible, but we'll try. Columbombus. Creature. Weird Detective. 3 mana, 2/2 Flying Vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards, unless you discard an instant, sorcery, or creature with flying. Flying Vigilance, huh? That seems good. This card has to be good. Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think so. Why does it have Vigilance? I don't know, but Vigilance is so OP, man. It pisses me off. I hate Vigilance with a passion. Well, this one is good, yes. Crime Novelist. 3 mana, 1/3. When you sack an artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on Crime Novelist and add red. Wombo combo? Don't know, man. There's not that many ways to sack artifacts like over and over. And by not that many, I think 0, right? Treasures? Yeah, I mean, making a treasure be 2 mana is decent, yeah, sure, but map tokens? What do you mean map tokens, man? Okay, you can use a map token for 0 mana instead of 1. Who cares? That's not enough reason to play a 3 mana 1/3. Goldspan made treasures give 2 mana and was insane. Yes, it also made treasures itself. If this made treasures too, then it would also be good. But it doesn't. So it's shit. 1-card combos are always good, of course. 2-card combos are not always good, but sometimes they are. I agree, sometimes. How, like, you just, there's no, you can't sack artifacts in standard, man. Can't be done. There's no card. Because you need, it's not even a 2-card combo, it's a 3-card combo, because you need a card that makes artifacts, you need to play this creature, and then you need a card that sacks artifacts too. All for what? Just to make some red? Anvil does both. This is not an Anvil card, man. How is this an Anvil card? Anvil is not an artifact sack deck. You sacrifice 1 artifact per turn. It doesn't do anything. He's trolling. I'm not trolling, man. How am I trolling? You tell me how you're making artifacts in standard, and how you're sacking them, and how you're also still finding the mana to cast this creature somewhere in between. And then tell me what you're doing with all your mana. I'd love to know. I'm very interested in your 4-card combo. Bartholomew. Okay, great. So we're playing Mardu in standard, right? So 60% of our lands deal damage to us. That's a great start. So what's... And we've got 2 of our 4 combo pieces. Okay, what's number 3? Anyone? I'm just gonna play a game of chess while I wait for your answer. Blood Tithe Harvester. Oh yeah, sick. Another card that makes 1 artifact. Yeah, nice. This card obviously can be good when the stars align. Of course, you can't do it in standard. Get over it. Get over it, children. Mishra's research desk. Okay, man. Wow. You've played a 3-mana 1/3 to save yourself 1 mana. So you've played a 2-mana 1/3 that you can't cast until turn 3. And then it has to survive, and then you have to untap with it on turn 4, and then you save a mana on turn 4. Wow. Like, it's not good with sacrifice 1 artifact 1 time. This is good with I have 100 treasures in play. Yes, then it's great. The problem is we can't make 100 treasures, man. And that's okay. Not every card's perfect, like, supporting cast is available. Sometimes they're not there. It's okay. I wish you could make 100 treasures so we could play the crime novelist and we could pop off. That would be very fun. But sometimes wizards don't let you do what you want to do, man. That's okay. That's okay. Crime Stopper Sprite. 3 mana 2/2. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may collect evidence 6. Flying. Enters the battlefield, tap a creature. If evidence was collected, put a ring on it. Deadly Complication. Choose 1 or both. Destroy a creature, put a counter on a suspected creature, and you may have it become no longer suspected. Ooh, that seems very bad. Maybe there's a 100 treasure card among the other cards in the set. Maybe, man. If there is, we'll go back to our novelist and we'll say Pog. But right now, we say Sag. Etrata, the Deadly Fugitive. 3 mana, 1/4 Death Touch. Face down creatures you control have 4 mana. Turn this creature face up. If you can't, exile it. Then you may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost. Whenever an assassin you control deals combat damage to an opponent, cloak the top card of that player's library. What? What does that mean? Huh? So 3 mana, 1/4 that makes 2/2s when it deals damage to opponent. Seems bad. Because even if you make 1 creature, that's still just like a random 3-drop in standard, right? So you gotta make 2. So this seems bad. Also, you got to account for the fact that it do be dying to cut downs. Do we know what the card is from opponent's library? I have no idea, man. Do we? I just think this is terrible, chat. Unless the only way this will be good is if there's like, you know, at least one, maybe two, like, you know, total absolute banger 1 or 2 mana assassins, which is very, I mean, that's kind of unlikely, but you can't rely on this thing attacking itself because you got to attack twice, right, for it to be good. That's just that is unreasonable request. It's a fun card, but definitely not going to be competitive. I mean, it would, that's what I'm saying though, it would be good if, like, say Fairy Mastermind was an assassin. Then this card is good, right? You flash in your Fairy Mastermind, end of their turn, you play this, you attack. Then it is good. But you need to have 1 and 2 mana assassins in your deck, right? And I don't think there are any. Krenko, Baron of Tin Street. But I feel like there will be other assassins in this set. Whether or not any of them cost 1 or 2 and are good enough for standard, we'll see. Krenko. Big Gobble with haste. Tap, sack an artifact, put a counter on each goblin you control. Whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you may pay red. If you do, create a goblin. Goblins and artifacts. What? This is kind of sick. Bro, there are no artifacts in standard, man. You gotta get over it. There's only 2 assassins at 2 mana in standard. Yeah, but I do think that there will be assassins in this set. They just have to be 1 or 2 mana, and I guess most likely rares. So we'll see if there is, but it's a 3/3 haste for 3. It's fine on rate. Honestly, chat, I think I'm lagging. Oh no, my internet's crashing. Honestly, dude, there's a million rares in standard that say do a thing with an artifact, and none of them get played because the artifacts are shit. This is just another one, man. There's already like 10 cards that do the same thing. The artifacts are shit. Dies to a braid? This thing actually doesn't die to a braid, but yeah, I see your point though. The bottleneck for artifact decks in standard are the artifacts, not the payoffs. We've already got good payoffs. We have no artifacts, man. This is just another version of something, the thing we already have. It doesn't help with the main problem. Maybe the next card is Black Lotus? Maybe, but this is not good with Black Lotus though. I think I'd rather sack my Black Lotus for 3 mana rather than a counter on Krenko. Magnifying Glass. Okay, 3 mana rock with set bonus. In this case, Investigate. This thing actually slaps though. Mana rock that comes with 6 mana, draw a card. Bog. Tesa Opulent Oligarch. 3 mana, 2/3 Death Touch. Okay, bad start. At the beginning of your end step, investigate for each opponent who lost life this turn. Okay, still bad. Whenever a clue you control is put into a graveyard, create a token with flying once each turn. 3 mana, 2/3. Or 5 mana, 2/3, and a 1/1 flyer and draw a card. Okay. Just bad at all stages. Hate to see it. Tomic, Wielder of Law. Affinity for Planeswalkers. Okay. 3 mana, 2/4, or 2 mana, 2/4, I guess. Flying Vig. When an opponent attacks with creatures, if 2 or more of their creatures are attacking you and or planeswalkers you control, that opponent loses 3 life and you draw a card. Okay, this guy's nice. 4 booty, huh? 4 booty is good. This thing will be annoying. I think this is good, yeah. It's got vigilance, it's got flying, anti-aggro creature. Good sideboard card. Vehicles are creatures. If they're crewed, they are, yeah, I think so. Are they not? Or they would count, right? If you attack with a creature and a vehicle into my Tomic, I'll get to draw, no? Any planeswalkers showed up yet? The planeswalker has been revealed, yeah, but we haven't looked at it in the review yet. It's coming later, I think. I think this is good. Probably a sideboard creature because it's just so useless against ramp, but definitely bring it in against mono red, against soldiers, probably against like the Esper decks. Meh. Might be a bit too small ball for them, but I wouldn't want to play against this as mono red, that's for sure. Or soldiers. Or mono white. Does Doobie seeming like a great anti-aggro card? I like. Tristani, the 3 Whispers. 3 mana, 4/4. Give a creature Death Touch, Vigilance, or Double Strike. I get, so this card's very similar to Migos, huh? Better or worse than Migos? Or the same? Kinda worse, huh? And Migos is already like mid as hell. It's a very old design. It is weird, huh? At least it's instant speed. Could be useful once in a while in draft. What do you mean once in a while, man? This thing is a giga bomb in draft. You're crazy. And like absolutely insane bomb. In standard though, it's worse than Migos, which is not a great starting point. This card is insane. It's not, man. Real 61st card energy? Yeah, maybe. Dies to removal before doing anything. Right, even if it doesn't die, it's not that good, man. That's what I mean. This isn't good? No, dude. No. You just gotta, like, what do your opponents cast for 3 mana? Only cards that are better than this. Like, there are no cards for 3 that my opponent will cast that are worse than this. None. If you had this in your deck, you would be the guy with the worst 3-drop in standard. It's that simple. That's me already, so I'll play it. Dude, I'm not telling anyone not to play it. You can play any card you want, man. I got no problem. I'm just telling you that it's I'm telling you that it's bad, just in case you think it's good. If you think it's bad and then play it anyway, go off, brother. It's your own life, man. I got no problem with that. War Leader's Call. 3 mana enchantment. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, War Leader's Call does 1 damage to each opponent. Okay, this one slaps. This is a card. Now we're talking. I play good red and white cards that make tokens, and this thing. I play Wandering Emperor, I play Wedding Announcement, I play this, and I win. I win a lot. I mean, this thing is insane. It gives you a way to... It's good against ramp too, right? Which is always important. You can win even once they begin to go over the top of you. Esper as well. The art's insane. Art's nice, yeah. Ogier? Ogier will be worse than just plain Emperor, right? Emperor will be your 4 mana card. Like Virtue, Emperor, Wedding Announcement, this. Resolute Reinforcements, I guess. Some removal spells. Easy deck. Easy peasy deck. Reprieve, not in standard, sadly. If only it was in standard. That would be very cool. You're kind of hyped for this? I mean, there's no way this isn't good, man. It covers the biggest weakness of a token deck, right? The biggest weakness of a token deck is, what do you do when your opponent plays a 4/4 creature in front of your 3/3 tokens? You just have to press spacebar and give up a creature every turn, right? But now, you just make 3/3s. Block their 4/4 with your 2 3/3s and kill them with your pings. No need to attack and give up your creatures anymore. Just block and win. Thing's insane. I mean, it's not actually the most insane card, but it is exactly the type of card that a token deck needs. So in the token deck, it is insane, yes. I just can't. How can a deck that has one of the best planeswalkers in standard, one of the best 3-drops in standard, Wedding Announcement, Wandering Emperor, Resolute Reinforcements, one of the best creatures in standard, how can that deck, which adds this card which covers its biggest weakness, how can that not be good? It just has to be good. That deck without this card would be good. Maybe not the best deck, but with this, it gets a huge power bump, right? One concern I have is, I don't know what other red cards you would play in this deck, but I guess the removal spell, right? Maybe the one that deals 5. Nah, not Anam Pakal, man. Fable. I guess you would play Fable if it wasn't banned. Yes. Nah, not Burn Down the House. Your 5-mana card will be the White Virtue. Wedding Announcement's finally good. Yeah, I mean this card is good with 2 of the best cards in standard. Wedding Announcement and Wandering Emperor. That is it. There's no denying it. That is the start of a deck. Impossible that it's not. In fact, I am so confident that this is good, that might be the first deck that we try in the new set. It's 0% chance that it's bad. 0. Whether it's tier 2 or tier 1, well, that remains to be seen, but it won't be below 2. Absolutely impossible. Try it in the streamer event? That's too soon, man. Too soon. Wojek Investigator. 3 mana, 2/4 flying vigilance. Okay, that's a great start. At the beginning of your upkeep, investigate once for each opponent that has more cards in hand than you. Okay. That's a terrible finish. What happened? For some reason, a group of people at Wizards sat round the marble table and decided that free advertisement was not something that they're interested in. They'd prefer to pay for it, so they got rid of the streamer event. That's so fucked up. I mean, I don't really care. It doesn't bother me because it's like, it just doesn't really affect me at this point. But for smaller streamers and for Wizards themselves, it just doesn't make any sense. But there must be something preventing them from doing it. There's no way that they would decide not to do it. Just in general, there must be some sort of problem with it. It's literally just free advertisements, right? None of the people that play in it get paid, so it's there must be an alternative reason, and I would be surprised if it doesn't come back at some point. They laid off the person who was running it. Yeah, it'll be something like that, right? So they'll just, give the task to a new guy, and then it'll be back next time. Okay, this thing is, I don't know, bad, I think. 2 power is nice because it can attack and then block Wedding Announcement tokens that have flipped, huh? Can also attack like into ramp until they play an angel. It's a bit weak to removal. It's not that bad. I'm gonna lean on the side of not good enough. Because it's kind of like Glissa, but worse, right? It's definitely worse than Glissa, and Glissa again is it's kind of like that the Tristani versus Migos. Like these creatures that these new cards are worse than are already themselves like extremely mid. So I think this will be not good enough. Mono white has better 3-drops. Angels, I don't know if this makes angels. Is Angels really missing a 3-drop? Is it a 3-mana creature that Angel needs? I don't know. White mid-range decks like Esper, etc. will never play this. So I don't see it. Agrus Kos, the Spirit of Justice. 4 mana, 2/4, double strike vigilance. Okay. That's pretty good. Oh, actually, that's very bad. This gets blocked by Shelly. Yikes. Enters the battlefield or attacks. Choose up to 1 target creature. If it is suspected, exile it. Otherwise, suspect it. A suspected creature has menace and can't block. So you can kill a creature over 2 turns with this guy. It's so much mana for a creature. It needs haste. I mean, it would be it would be sick with haste, huh? You get your ETB suspect and then you attack and exile the creature. That sounds good. That I would be interested in. Does the creature stay suspected even if this dies? Haste would make this broken as fuck. But that's just how strong standard is. This wouldn't be broken if it had haste, man. It wouldn't. It would just be the same power level as the other 4-mana cards. You gotta think about it. In standard, there's only... How many sets is in standard now? 10? There's 3 cards that cost 4 that see play. 3. In 10 sets. So there's only 1 card that costs 4 mana every 3 sets that are good enough to see play. Is this the one in the last 3 sets that's the best? I don't know about that, man. I don't know about that. If this had haste, would it be the one in the last 3 sets that's the best? Maybe. But it would be no better than Shelly, Emperor, and Invasion of Zendikar. It's just the same as those 3, man. With haste. Without haste, I think you're talking about at least 1 tier below. You like the barrier for entry of a 4-mana card in standard is obscenely high. The card has to be playable and timeless for 4 mana to be playable in standard. Minsk and Boo would see play in standard, yes. I would put a Minsk and Boo in my Gruul deck. In fact, I'd play 4. Invasion is hardly playable in Timeless. You would play Invasion in the Field of the Dead deck if it was more than 1 color. It just happens that that's a mono green deck, so you can't fetch 2 forests, right? Because you need to get unique lands. Invasion is cracked, man. This... I don't know, man. This is it's a very good creature, but again, the barrier for entry for standard 4-drops is, I mean, saying it's high is underselling it. It might be the highest it's ever been. It just doesn't. It does not reach the Shelley Emperor level. And unfortunately, this is one of the downsides to a 100 set standard, is the barrier for entry for new cards. It goes up. You gotta accept it. Airtie is a 4-drop. Okay, Airtie is another playable one, yeah. I forgot about Airtie, but again, this is not as good as Airtie, man. But yeah, this card's a great example of why the new standard is dog shit, you know? There's no way that we should have a standard where you can't play this creature. But this is just unplayable, man. And it is cringe. It's absolutely unplayable. Aurelia's Vindicator. 4 mana, 4/2. Flying lifelink ward 2. Disguise X3 and a white. When it's turned face up, exile up to X other creatures from battlefield and or graveyard. When it leaves the battlefield, return exiled cards to their owner's hand. What on earth is this? Was Disguise though? So Disguise is you can pay. So you can cast this from hand as a 3 mana 2/2 ward 2. Face down. So it wouldn't have flying, it wouldn't have lifelink. It wouldn't have a different ward. In this case, it would still have ward 2, but that's a coincidence. Then, after you've paid that 3, then you can pay, say, 2 and 3 and a 1, so 6, to flip it at instant speed into a flying lifelink ward 2 creature. And in that case, you would get to, let's say, remove one of your opponent's creatures from the board and eat a creature from your own graveyard, and then when your guy dies, they get their creature back into their hand and you get your creature back into your hand. Now, obviously this creature is kinda bad, but 2 things. Thing 1, if you morph this and then they target it with a removal spell and pay the 2 ward, can you flip this and then they have to pay 2 again? That's my first question. No, okay. Well, that's bad news. Second question is is this playable in ramp? Because you have Cavern for Angel, so it's uncounterable. Lifelink Flyer, it's another thing to do on turn 3 in a deck that desperately needs them. Don't know. Because if you can't play it in ramp, you ain't playing it anywhere, let me tell you that. You can't Cavern of Souls it. What do you mean you can't Cavern of Souls it? Yes, you can. It's an angel. Archangel of Wrath is probably better. True, but also irrelevant. Who said you're cutting Archangel of Wrath to play this? I certainly didn't. The morph ain't an angel. I know the morph's not an angel. What kind of disguise would that be? I'm gonna dress up as CROKEYZ for Halloween. That's gonna be my disguise. I did do that. I have done that before, yes. True. easy domain tech. I don't think it's impossible that you would see Ramp try this out. Like, just being able to rebuy your Atraxas is highly interesting, huh? And your Archangels stuff. I mean, the Ramp deck is absolutely, like, insane, though, so... Seems hard to find a space for it, but... maybe a sideboard card in the mirror or something, I don't know. Like, maybe it could be a good card against a counterspell deck, right? It's got Angel, another card that can be caverned, and you can also then rebuy the cards that have been countered in the first place, I guess, so most of your creatures are angels already. I don't know, you get what I'm trying to say, right? 2 toughness is horrendous, but also it doesn't matter, right? 2 toughness, like, if you're bringing it in from the sideboard against a counter-heavy deck, having 2 toughness doesn't matter. You're just going to use it to erase them, right? I think if I was playing a standard tournament with Ramp, and my opponent was playing a control deck, I would be very happy to have this in my sideboard. I'd be very pissed off if I got to sideboard and it wasn't there. I'm calling it, chat. I'm calling it that this will be in Ramp sideboards. You can call me crazy. I'm sticking my goddamn neck out. If you're a domain player, I hope you've got at least one mythic wild card in the bank. 1 sec, chat, be back. I need a water refill. Morph can still be countered, I know, man, but if you... I mean, if you're playing against a counter deck, and they have a counter available, just cast the creature with your cavern, man. Don't have to morph it. Just play a 4/2 flyer with lifelink and word 2. And then they cry. I guarantee you they'll cry. Axebane Ferox. 4 mana, 4/4, Death Touch, Haste, Beast. Ward, collect evidence 4. I don't know. Do people have mana value 4 or greater cards in their graveyard? I don't know. Maybe, kind of, probably. Maybe not. Ding, 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 ding. This plus Hearse equals hexproof. Yeah. Trespass is probably better, right? Golgari aggro. So even then, if you've got Trespasser and you're looking for a 4-drop, can I point you to Shelly? So, since you've already got a swamp. And Shelly attacks for 6 a turn, this only attacks for 4. It just doesn't make the cut, man. Bite down on crime. As an additional cost to cast a spell, you may collect evidence 6. 2 mana less if evidence was collected. +2/+0. Bite. very sleeper. Curious Cadaver. Cemetery Prowler. Yeah, but Cemetery Prowler is in itself unplayable because of Shelley. At least Prowler's good against Wandering Emperor, though. 4 mana 3/1, flying. When you sack a clue, return from graveyard to hand. That's a lot of mana for 3 power and 1 toughness. Gadget Technician. When it enters the battlefield or is turned face up, create a Thopter artifact creature token with flying. 4 mana 3/2 or 5 mana 3/2 and a 1/1. Nope. Kaya! The Spirit's Justice. 4 mana, 3 loyalty. Whenever one or more creatures you control and or creature cards in your graveyard are put into exile, you may choose a creature card from among them until then, and until the end of turn, target token you control becomes a copy of it, except it has flying. Okay. I'm going to have to read that again. Whenever one or more creatures you control and or creature cards in your graveyard are put into exile, you may choose a creature card from among them. Until end of turn, target token you control becomes a copy of it, except it has flying. What? +2. Surveil 2. +1. Make a token. -2. Exile creature you control. For each other player, exile 1 creature that player controls. Anti graveyard hit? Kind of, but... Oh, man. Seems bad. You need a token on board, and then you can reanimate anything. I guess so, yes, but... only for 1 turn, right? And it doesn't get an ETB, so... it's not that good, man. It's good with Sunfall. Is it? I mean, yeah, you Sunfall, and then you can turn your incubator token into a... whatever, a trespasser, but it's still got something, it can't attack. It's got summon sickness. And then next turn it's an incubator token again anyway. And Atraxa, well, it's the same shit, right? Atraxa, a no ETB Atraxa with Defender for 1 turn on your own turn. Yeah, you just change a token that you already have, so you don't get any ETBs, so... this is not that good, man. It doesn't work with Gruff. I thought there could be a good Amonkhet deck with this. But that, for a start, that's 4 colors, right? But no, it doesn't do anything with. You can turn 1 token into 1 Gruff singular, yes, but so what, right? That's not that good, man. And bear in mind that it's the worst colors it could possibly be, right? You're playing black-white, you need to. It's a 4 mana card. So even to play this, you've got to either cut Emperor or Shelly. Or both. There's no shot, man. No shot. Impossible. If the token had haste, yeah, then maybe. Then you could play this with like with Hearse or something, right? You make a token where you're Kaya, you Hearse a big creature, and then even though you don't get an ETB, you get in for a big attack or something, right? But it just does not. It doesn't matter, man. It's so much work to get like 1 attack with a token, make the tokens like bigger for 1 turn. What's even good to copy? Well, I mean, Atraxa is still good to copy, right? It's still a 7/7 with lifelink. But yeah, so yes, the turn that you do that will be strong, but your deck is going to be awful in general. Leveler's the best one to copy. But even Leveler, man, you're still giving up. Like that's good, of course, yeah, but you're still giving up the. You're paying even a bigger cost to do that. You give up the Unearth. It's just not. It's a lot of hassle, man. You need cheap token makers, big creatures. Your deck needs cheap token makers, big creatures, Kayas, removal, lands, and ways to fill your graveyard. All for what? All for what? To attack with a big creature for 1 turn. Wow. It's removal. It's bad removal, man. This works with Adeline, no. Yes, it works with Adeline, man. But your Adeline, your black-white deck with Adeline in it is just you're gonna play Shelly and Emperor. Why would you play Kaya? Which one are you cutting to play your copies of Kaya? Someday Kaya will get a good card. Well, this is a good card, man. But it's an Orzhov 4-drop. It's competing with 2 of the 3 playable 4-drops in all of Standard. If it was a Gruul card, it would be in every Gruul deck. But it's not. So it'll be in no decks. What's the other 4-mana card? Invasion of Zendikar. Even that one's only in one deck, right? And Airtie as well, though. Forgot about Airtie. But Airtie's kind of only in one deck too, to be honest. Commander card. Is there any chance that we could listen to the words that I'm saying, just as a one-off, you know, just as a little treat? Kaya is good. The playable 4-mana cards in Standard require a high barrier to entry. Kaya potentially meets that barrier. However, she has some fierce competition for a slot in your deck. Namely, Sheoldred, the Apocalypse, and the Wandering Emperor. I find it, personally, in my humble opinion, I find it unlikely that when faced with that conundrum, I'm building a deck. Should I play Shelly, or Emperor, or Kaya? I think that rarely you will select Kaya. That is my opinion. Hopefully, we're all following here. I didn't say never. I said rarely, but as a asterisk, it might be never. It might be never, but I'll be, you know, I'll build the hype and say rarely. It seems like a commander precon card. You're undervaluing it, man. It is better than that. Poor Kaya's just the wrong colours, mate. Kellen, Inquisitive Prodigy. 4-mana, 3/4. For 2, you have an adventure, investigate, play an additional land. And then you can play a flying vigilance creature. There's so many vigilance flyers in this fucking set. And none of them can attack into Rafine Smile. Any 4-power flyers. Whenever Kellen Inquisitive Prodigy attacks, destroy up to 1 target artifact. If you controlled that permanent, draw a card. Well, there's no artifacts in Standard, so rip this guy. Adventure Growth Spiral. I don't think this adventure is Growth Spiral. I disagree. It's like half a Growth Spiral. It's not even half a Growth Spiral, man. A quarter, maybe. One is instant, one is sorcery, and one costs 2 and one costs 4. I'll give it a 25% of a Growth Spiral. Destroy treasure, draw a card seems okay. Brother, we've been over this, man. You can't make treasures in Standard. It's not possible. Can't be done. You can sack maps. I mean, you can already sack maps, though. You just, like, If you hover over the map on Arena, you can just click it, man. That sacks it. Is this as good as Sheoldred? And Wandering Emperor? Honestly, if there was two gamers going at it in Standard, one had Emperor and one had this, and you asked me to take over from one of them, I'm picking the Emperor guy, but maybe I'm just a hater. It has Vigilance, it beats Emperor. True. I don't... Listen, chat, I know we go over this every time. I don't want to be a hype killer, but it's not my fault. It's not my fault that you only care about the cards that cost 4 and more. If you could just start caring about the cards that cost 3 or less, then we could start getting excited, because those are the cards that actually impact Standard. You gotta stop being such a Timmy, man. If you want to get excited about 4 mana cards, they have to be equal to or better than Emperor and Shelly. I want to make it clear that I am not cucking your excitement for the new set. I'm not. You're doing it to yourself by only caring about cards that cost $1 million. Start caring about cards that cost less than $1 million, and you will have more fun with the spoiler season. That is my life advice to you. You'll have more fun. Ramp would never play this card. No. Because Ramp actually doesn't play... This is like an Explorer, like Grazer effect, right, on the Adventure. Ramp doesn't actually play that many lands. It only plays like 26 lands, right? The same as the mid-range decks, so... that's not enough lands to play a Grazer. So the adventure on this, you simply wouldn't have a additional land drop to make often enough. I think if you targeted your own one ring with this, you would still draw a card, yeah, even though the ring wouldn't die. Loxodon Eavesdropper. Enter the battlefield, investigate. Whenever you draw your second card each turn, you get +1/+1 and gain vigilance until end of turn. He's all ears. I was hoping to skip over that, chat. I disrespect pun comedy and all it stands for. I think it's the lowest of the low, a pathetic low-hanging fruit that I would never, ever, and I would never, ever, ever pick that apple. Masker Girl, known killer. Four mana, 4/4 menace. Creatures you control have Wither. Whenever a creature an opponent control dies, if its toughness was less than 1, draw a card. Fails the Shelly check. It's just too hard to draw a card, right? You can only draw a card in combat, really, with this thing, right? And there's only a couple of exceptions. Most removal spells will not draw you a card. Night Drinker Moroi. When it enters the battlefield, you lose 3 life. That's not a price I'm willing to pay. No witnesses. Each player who controls the most creatures investigates, then destroy all creatures. We've already got a better one of this, right? That doesn't even get used because of Sunfall. Depopulate, yes. Out cold. This spell can't be countered. Tap 2 creatures, put a stun counter on each of them, investigate. Aurelia the Law Above. 5 mana, 4/4, flying, vigilance, haste. Okay, that's good. Whenever a player attacks with 3 or more creatures, you draw a card. It's also good. Whenever a player attacks with 5 or more creatures, that never happens, so I'm not even going to read it. She's nice. Absolutely awful colours, though. Boros. Boros. Right into your Mardu Angels trash can deck. Do-do-do-do-do. I mean, attacking with 3 creatures is kind of hard, but yeah, maybe it sucks. The Benthic Criminologists. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, you may sacrifice an artifact. If you do, draw a card. Why not, man? It's a great game. Judith Carnage Connoisseur. 5 mana, 3/4. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, choose one. Spell gains Death Touch and Lifelink. Create a 2/2 imp. It's not good, chat. Sorry to say, it's not good. Too much mana. 5 mana, 4/5 haste. When you attack with 3 or more creatures, investigate. Too much mana. 5 mana, star. Power and toughness equal to twice the number of instant and sorceries in your graveyard. The first instant or sorcery you cast each turn costs 3 less. Too much mana. Tall Samir, Midnight's Light. 3/2 lifelink. Enters the battlefield, make a 5/5 token with trample. Whenever a wolf you control attacks, if Tall Samir attacked this combat, target creature an opponent controls blocks that wolf this combat if able. Well, I mean, this thing beats Shelly. That's good. This thing beats Emperor, I guess. Doesn't really beat Emperor. It trades with Emperor, but they get 2 life, you get 3, and you paid 1 more mana. So I guess technically you'll lose, but Sunfall, it's not that weak to Sunfall, but it is sus. Atraxa, you're getting farmed. Virtue. Could be decent against a Virtue. What other 5+ cards are played? I guess this is bad, man. It's outrageous. Like, this is similar to the Boros creature from earlier. Honestly, if this creature sucks, then standard sucks, man. And I think it sucks. This shouldn't be bad. 3/2 lifelinker and a 5/5 trampler for 5, plus like combat tricks as well. But it just doesn't compare to the cards around its mana cost that do see play. There's been a couple of cards that I think are timeless playable, yeah. Right at the start. Yeah, I mean, this is a nice creature. I don't think it'll make the cut, though. I think, like... So the only green-white deck that we have right now is Ramp. And Ramp will not play this. So it would have to be a new green-white deck. And that new green-white deck that has this creature in it would just be better if they just cut it, man. And just went more aggro, right? So there's... I don't see a slot for this. It does not trade favorably enough with the other cards around its cost. It is good against Shelly, though. But it's equal or worse than everything else. That's just not enough. Voja, Jaws of the Conclave. 5 mana, 5/5. Vigilance, Trample, Ward 3. Bro, every creature has Vigilance, man. What is this? I hate Vigilance! You mad? Yes, I'm mad. Vigilance, like... It hurts the most interesting thing about combat, which is picking your attackers and picking your blockers. Vigilance shouldn't be in the game, man. It's shit. Okay, whenever Voja Jaws of the Conclave attacks, put X counters on each creature you control, where X is the number of elves you control, and then draw a card for each wolf you control. Elves and the wolves. What? 5 mana, 5/5, Vigilance, Trample, Ward 3. Ward 3 is a lot, but it's a lot. So you're gonna get like no counters because elves suck. You're gonna draw one card when you attack. Seems bad. But also, there's not a lot of cards that have Ward 3, so kind of hard to evaluate just how good Ward 3 is, but it feels like it is good. There's just not really any elves in Standard, is there? That are good, that are really that good? Werefox is an elf? Okay, that's a decent one, I suppose. Yeah, these cards are going to be in standard, man. This plus Tolsimir. Yeah, sick, dude. You cast 2 different 5-drops. I'll cast 1 5-drop Sunfall, and I'll end up ahead. Now, 5-drops are even harder than 4-drops to get into standard, because there's only like 2, right? I guess 3, maybe you could say the Archangel of Wrath's like a 5 or a 6, but it's only Virtue and Sunfall, right? Are there any other 5s? Stupid white, so broken. It's not good enough, guys, sadly. At best, you'll trade like equally, right? Maybe if they have a go for the throat, you pay 5, they pay 5, sure. But at worst, you're either getting Sunfalled, which is a disaster, because the rest of your the rest of your deck is also going to be creatures, because you need elves. Maybe you don't need wolves, but definitely need some elves. And at worst, you're gonna get like Edicted or something, right? Sheoldred's Edict is a nightmare. Liliana, nightmare. Atraxa, nightmare. Leyline Binding, nightmare. Like this, there's no way you can play this, right? At best, you will trade evenly, and at worst, you will lose the game. Yeah, they could have a death toucher. I mean, if they have a death touch creature, that's okay. Like, you've probably spent more mana than they have, but at least you get to redraw a card and they don't. So it's not the end of the world, but it's not great either. Still a bit of a wash, right? 6 mana mythic. Blood Artist's Very Large Sun is a vampire assassin with ward, sack a creature. Whenever a creature dies, target opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So it is actually Blood Artist's Very Large Sun. Okay, understood. Quite a lot of mana to spend on that kind of effect, huh? But in an unbelievable turn of events, it's not a legendary. First non-legendary in 13 years. It actually is. Is it? Scryfall thinks it's not, but I'll trust you, man. I'm going to place my trust in you. Give me 1 sec, chat. Be right back. Ooh. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. I need to take regular small breaks today because I'm still a bit unwell. I've returned a day early just for your viewing pleasure. In exchange, I need you to let me take a moment every half an hour or so. If it's targeted, opponent loses 4 life. I guess so, yeah. I guess so. Now, thankfully, this boy does not have the Edict and Lily problem, right? Because you just sack one of your other creatures, but it's also just an absolutely absurd amount of mana. The Defenestrated Phantom. Common 6 drops we won't be reading. You heard me. Izoni, Center of the Web. 6 mana, 5/4 menace. When Izoni, Center of the Web, enters the battlefield or attacks, you may collect evidence for it. If you do, create 2/1 black and green spider creature tokens with menace and reach. Sacrifice 4 tokens. Surveil 2, draw 2 cards, gain 2 life. This is 6 mana Loth. Why is it 6? It's an attack trigger. Yeah. This is unplayable because of ramp, guys. If there was no domain deck, though, this actually could be a playable 6 mana card. Because it is doing a lot of stuff, man. But you just can't cast this. It's a lot of tokens to blow up. Yeah, it doesn't have to be creatures, though, man. Doesn't have to be creatures, at least, but yeah, it's another card that's just neutered by ramp, man. What if they ban Sunfall? They're not going to ban Sunfall, did? Has a board wipe ever been banned in the history of this game? I don't think so, right? Sunfall certainly is not. Meat Hook, okay, but Meat Hook is not. It's not a board wipe. Wonder if all these too expensive rare creatures are there to feed the new delve mechanic in limited. I mean, there's like most sets are filled with expensive cards, man. Have you ever watched one of my review streams before? All anyone cares about are the cards that cost $1 million. There's a reason why they fucking print 100 of them every set. It's all anyone wants to fucking talk about. We had that sick red 2-drop earlier in the set. Nobody wants to talk about that. People want to talk about Izoni, Center of the Web. So that's why they print them, because people like them, man. That's fine. Irish streamer gets mad. I'm not mad, man. I don't care. People like what they like. That's fine. Got no problem with it. I don't have a problem with someone liking 6 mana cards. I have a problem with someone pretending they don't understand why Wizards prints 100 6 mana cards every set when the answer is fucking obvious. Big creature go stomp makes people happy. Yeah, man, that's fine. True. I hate expensive cards unless they're OP. Also fair. Rakdos, the patron of chaos. 6 mana, 6/6 flying trample. At the beginning of your end step, target opponent may sacrifice 2 non-land, non-token permanents. If they don't, you draw 2 cards. Alright, this one's going to take standard by storm. Actually not horrible. Yeah, I mean, I'd pick it too, man. Yeah, I'd pick it too. Nice one to see in your pack one, right? It's a good target for Kaya. Yes. Draft for this set seems gas. The draft for every set is gas, man. I can't remember the last time that there was a bad draft set. I have liked everyone I've played since and including Eldraine. I didn't play Eldraine that much, but the times I did play it, I enjoyed it. Like Eldraine the first time. Like it's been years since there was a bad one. One was bad? No, it wasn't, man. One was like 65% win rate on the play with all the nasty 1 and 2 drops. Bro, 1 and 2 drops being strong is not a problem with 1 the set. That is a problem with Magic the Gathering. It's taken 25 years, but finally, people have started picking 1 drops in draft. And now, every single set devolves down into aggro mirrors. It's almost like we've learned what cards are good. Crazy, I know. I think people are just getting maybe not better at the game, like inherently, but the more information stuff leads to the 1 and 2 drops are just OP. In any format, always have been. 1 drops are for people who suck at draft. I'm sure that's what the article says, yeah. But I also think if you look at the author's name, give them a message on Twitter and ask them if they still feel that way, they'll respond and say, nope. I no longer feel this way. Okay, insanely good art here. The Topiary Panther. Why is this getting wasted on a common? Kylox, Visionary Inventor. Menace Ward 2 Haste. 7 mana, 4/4. Well, it's going to be hard for this one, because this thing's got to be better than Atraxa. Whenever it attacks, sacrifice any number of other creatures. Then exile the top X card of your library, where X is their total power. You may cast any number of instants and or sorceries from among the exiled cards without paying their cost. Okay, so all you have to do is play Ramp with Cavernous Souls, so it can't get countered, naming Viashino, of course. Then you need to clear their board so they can't block and kill your 4/4. Then you play it, then you attack, then you hope they don't have a removal. Then you need to attack, exile your whole board, which obviously you've got tons of creatures in play right now while you've sat for the whole game with a 7 mana creature in your hand waiting to be cast, and you've been playing lands and you've been ramping. And of course, you've also got a lot of instants and sorceries in your deck. So, but luckily for you, they're all at the top of your deck, and you've only drawn creatures up until this point. So now you've got plenty of stuff to sacrifice when you attack. So you're going to attack. You sacrifice, let's say, 15 to 20 power, because you've got lots and lots of huge creatures in play. Your opponent hasn't done anything up until this point. Now, you get to exile cards. You get a ton of instants and sorceries. Now, unfortunately, even though the games went perfectly up until this point, every instant and sorcery that you've exiled is a counter spell which does nothing, and a red removal spell which also does nothing because they've got no creatures. But at least you've killed your own board for the price of 7. Banger cube card. Maybe. I doubt it, but maybe. At least in a cube deck, you do have a decent mix of creatures, instants, and sorceries. Like, these kind of cards are almost always bad. Ones where you need like a large number of different card types. Very rarely is there an exception. Like Atraxa is maybe an exception. That's a card that you play different card types. Maybe Winota is an exception. You need to play a lot of humans and a lot of non-humans. But I mean that's how that's the kind of like level we're talking about, right? Obviously those two creatures are just completely nuts. It's really hard to build a deck where you can balance this problem, right? A lot of creatures and a lot of preferably expensive instant and sorceries on top of this already insanely expensive creature. It can't be done. Would you play this as a 4-drop? Yes, but even as a 4-drop, it would still be hard to build the deck, man. It's so hard to do these you need multiple things, right? It's nothing to do with it being creatures and instants and sorceries. If anything, that might be the easiest way to do it, but still really hard. But choose any 2 different things, it's always difficult, man. Buried in the Garden. 4 mana for an aura. Enchant land. ETB, exile non-land permanent you don't control until it leaves the battlefield. Whenever enchanted land is tapped for mana, there's ramp removal. 4 mana ramp removal. I mean, 4 mana is a lot to pay to remove anything, but it's good against Shelly at least. The Golgari Saga was like this. Binding of the Old Gods is way better than this, though. Binding of the Old Gods, the thing is removed permanently, and your ramp is also in play permanently, right? Your opponent can both neuter your removal and your ramp with one of their own removal spells. So, and even Binding the Old Gods wasn't that good. I think it was kind of overplayed, right? And in the end, it ended up only being played really in one deck, Sultai Ultimatum. And even there, it wasn't that good. And this is worse than that, right? By a lot. There was no alternative, yes. And Ramp has plenty of alternatives to this. I don't know. There's probably worse cards to play in your Atraxa deck than removal and ramp in one card. Ecuador! Ecuador!